This happened a couple weeks into the summer. I had just graduated high school, and it was my first and probably last summer without any real responsibilities, career or academic-wise. Everyone knows the beginning of the summer is the best time of the year, so it's safe to say that I was living my best life at that point. In Wyoming, there's this popular tradition where the new graduates drive way out into the plateaus and go rock climbing. Well, I'm not actually sure if it's a tradition anywhere besides my school, but I like to think it is. It's kind of a rite of passage thing, celebrating your freedom by doing something that requires a little skill and a lot of nerve. My friends and I had been talking about it for weeks, and we finally decided to make it happen. It was me, Alexandra, Nick, and Jack. We'd all been friends since middle school, and Alex was the only one with a car reliable enough to make the drive. A Jeep she was obsessed with and took any excuse to take off-road. She was also the designated driver since she didn't drink, which worked perfectly for the rest of us who were planning to bring a few beers to celebrate once we reached the top of whatever plateau we decided to climb. Our plan was to check out the Flaming Gorge lookout first, then drive through the plateau area to find a good spot for climbing. The lookout was incredible. One of those views that makes you remember why you love living in Wyoming. After spending about an hour taking pictures and soaking it all in, we started heading back toward Route 80, keeping an eye out for climbing spots. We were driving along Highway 141 when we spotted this really cool area off the side of the road. There were massive rock formations that looked perfect for climbing. Alex pulled into a small gravel lot, and we grabbed our gear. The plateau we chose was maybe a 15-minute climb, nothing too crazy. Alex went first since she was the most experienced, followed by me, then Nick, then Jack. The view from the top was absolutely worth it. Endless stretches of Wyoming wilderness. We cracked open our beers and were just enjoying the moment when I noticed a car speeding down the highway. A red pickup truck. To my surprise, it screeched to a halt and then reversed back toward the lot where we'd parked. We watched as a man got out and started looking around Alex's Jeep, peering into the windows and trying the door handles. Nick yelled down to let him know the car wasn't unattended. The man jumped, spotted us, and waved, but then kept messing with the car. Jack yelled that we were armed, which was a bluff. The man looked up and shouted back, "Me too, kiddo," holding something in the air, a gun. He started slamming his shoulder into the windows. Alex screamed at him to stop, and we scrambled down the plateau as fast as possible. By the time we reached the ground, he had shattered the glass. As we ran toward the Jeep, he pointed the gun directly at us. We froze. He ordered us to throw down our phones and wallets, which we did. Then he slashed one of Alex's tires before driving off in his truck with no license plates. We were shaken, furious, and terrified. We changed the tire, but the man was long gone. When we finally got back to Alex's house, we used her mom's phone to call the police, but with no plates and no real identifiers, nothing ever came of it. That day, which should have been one of the best of our summer, turned into one of the scariest. My name is Sophia. This happened 3 years ago when I was 19. My older brother Luke had just graduated from college in California, and the two of us were driving cross-country back home to New Jersey. Since he had been living out there for 4 years, he had accumulated a whole apartment's worth of stuff, and we decided to drive it back in a rented U-Haul. Before leaving, both our parents warned us about one thing: be careful in New Mexico. Apparently, there were scams, crime, and sketchy small towns. Our plan was to fill up in Arizona, drive straight through New Mexico without stopping, and refuel in Texas. That was the plan. But somewhere in the desert, the U-Haul's gas dropped faster than Luke had calculated. We weren't going to make it. The GPS showed a tiny town about 10 miles ahead with a gas station, so we decided we had no choice but to stop. The town was eerie, quiet, empty, with rundown buildings. The gas station was small, and as Luke filled up, I noticed locals staring at us. Not just curious stares, but lingering, unsettling ones. After filling up, we tried to head back toward the highway, which we could actually see in the distance. But no matter which road we took, we couldn't reach it. The roads curved, dead-ended, or led us further away. The GPS was useless, the signal was gone, and we kept circling the same few blocks. It felt unnatural, like the town was designed to keep us trapped. Luke eventually went back to the gas station for directions. The clerk gave him a bizarre route, 17 miles in the wrong direction through desert back roads. Luke said the guy seemed overly confident, almost pushy about those directions. We were debating what to do when a dusty pickup pulled up beside us. The man inside asked if we were lost. Luke cautiously explained where we were trying to go, and when he mentioned the directions the clerk had given us, the man got serious. He told us we should absolutely not take that road, that it was a known drug-running route, dangerous and desolate. Instead, he gave us different directions and told us it was a miracle we hadn't been robbed already. We followed his advice, and sure enough, we found a hidden gravel road that led us back to the highway. To this day, Luke and I describe that experience as the most unsettling thing that has ever happened to us. It was like being trapped in a breathless limbo, watching the highway but never able to reach it. This happened 5 years ago, 5 summers ago to be exact. My girlfriend at the time, let's just call her PS, had just graduated from college with me having graduated a year earlier. We aren't together anymore, but there's no bad blood between us, and I don't regret a single bit of our relationship, even though it eventually fell apart. She had gotten a job lined up for her after the summer, and so to celebrate, we wanted to do something a little adventurous before life started pulling us into responsibilities. After tossing around some ideas, we decided on a road trip. Not just any road trip, but one where we'd take the back roads, stay in small towns, and avoid the busy highways altogether. One night, around the midpoint of our trip, we found ourselves driving late into the evening, which wasn't part of the plan. We usually stopped driving before sundown, but we'd lost track of time while hiking that day. The sun dipped behind the mountains, and we still hadn't found a place to stay. Out in the middle of nowhere, there weren't many options. No motels, no campgrounds, not even a gas station in sight. Finally, just off a winding country road, we saw an old wooden sign that read "Evergreen" in vacancy. The place looked run down, like it hadn't been renovated in decades, but at that point, neither of us cared. We just wanted a bed to crash in. Inside, the inn smelled faintly of mildew mixed with something sweet, almost like flowers left too long in stagnant water. The old woman at the front desk barely spoke, just handed us a key with a long, brass tag attached. The keychain number was 7. When we got to the room, it was simple. One bed, an old dresser, floral wallpaper peeling in the corners. The weirdest part was that it felt staged, like it wasn't really meant to be lived in, just to look like a room. No personal touches, nowhere on the furniture, almost like a set in a movie. That night, I woke up around 3 a.m. to the sound of footsteps in the hallway. Slow, dragging footsteps. At first, I thought it was just another guest, but when I peeked out the door, the hallway was completely empty. The air felt thick, and it was freezing cold, much colder than it should have been in the middle of summer. I went back inside and found PS sitting upright in bed, wide-eyed. She whispered, "Did you see the girl?" I froze. "What girl?" She told me she had woken up to see a little girl standing at the foot of the bed. Pale skin, dark hair, wearing what looked like an old-fashioned dress. The girl hadn't moved, hadn't spoken, just stood there staring at us. And then, just like that, she was gone. Neither of us slept after that. We packed our bags before dawn and left as soon as the sky turned gray. On our way out, I glanced back at the inn, and that's when I noticed something chilling. The building looked completely abandoned in the daylight. The sign was broken, the windows boarded, the paint peeling off the walls. It was the exact same place we had stayed, but it looked like it hadn't been open for years. We didn't talk much for the rest of the drive. Neither of us could explain what happened that night. But sometimes, when I think back, I wonder, if we had stayed just a little longer, Would we have ever left?